15-year-old Coco Gauff makes history, youngest woman to reach Beijing and Wuhan finals. Fire sparkles. The sun was setting over Beijing, painting the sky in shades of gold and scarlet. In the fading light, a young girl with tightly wound braids and fire in her eyes stepped onto the court. The crowd murmured in anticipation. Cameras zoomed in on her face, searching for any trace of nerves. There were none. She was just 15 years old. But Coco Gauff had already become a name that carried weight far beyond her years. Around her, history was waiting to be written once again. The world had seen glimpses of her magic, from her fearless Wimbledon debut at 15, when she defeated her idol Venus Williams, to her steady climb through the WTA rankings. But what she was about to achieve in Beijing and Wuhan would ignite something far greater, a movement, a belief, and an unstoppable momentum in women's tennis. This wasn't just about tennis anymore. It was about destiny. From Delray dreams to world stages. Before the trophies, before the lights of Beijing and Wuhan. Coco's story began in the warm streets of Delray Beach, Florida. Her father, Coco Gauff, once a basketball player, and her mother, Candy, a track athlete, had instilled in her the value of hard work early on. You don't wait for opportunities, her father would say. You create them. Coco was barely 7 when she first picked up a racket. It was too big for her tiny hands, but the fire was already there. She practiced for hours under the scorching sun, chasing every ball like it was the last one she'd ever hit. "I want to be like Serena," she once whispered to her mom after watching Serena Williams dominate on TV. And from that day, the world began watching her grow, not just in height, but in spirit. By the time she was 10, coaches and scouts whispered her name in awe. By 13, she was training in France at the Marathon Academy, the same place that molded Serena. Her game evolved quickly. Fierce forehands, lightning speed, and a poise that belonged to someone twice her age. But even then, no one imagined she'd rewrite tennis history at just 15. Rising in the East, the Beijing breakthrough. When Coco arrived in Beijing, the world was watching cautiously. A talented teen, they called her, a future star. But Coco didn't come to be a future anything. She came to win now. The Beijing Open that year was a showcase of power, precision, and passion. Coco was unseeded, a wild card. No one expected her to survive the first round. But round after round, she dismantled veterans like a seasoned warrior. She defeated top seeds, battled exhaustion, and silenced critics who said she was too young, too inexperienced. In the semifinals, she faced a player ranked inside the top 5, a seasoned champion who had spent a decade mastering the game. The crowd leaned forward with every rally, every swing. Coco didn't flinch. She fought with the energy of youth and the wisdom of an old soul. Her forehand cracked through the Beijing air like thunder. Her serves unrelenting. Her footwork electric. And when the final point was won, the crowd erupted. Coco Gauff advances to the Beijing final, the announcer cried, his voice trembling with disbelief. The youngest player ever to do so. 15 years old. History made. Her parents hugged each other in the stands, tears glimmering under the stadium lights. Cameras captured Coco's smile, pure, unfiltered joy, the kind only a dreamer can understand. But the story wasn't over. Wuhan awaited. The storm before Wuhan. The trip from Beijing to Wuhan wasn't long, but mentally, it was a mountain. The pressure was immense. The headlines screamed her name, interviews flooded her schedule, and comparisons to legends grew louder each day. But Coco stayed grounded. She carried her journal everywhere, a small black notebook filled with quotes and scribbles. Pressure is privilege. Stay humble, stay hungry. It's me against myself. When asked by a reporter how she managed to stay calm, she smiled shyly. I just try to remember that I'm still learning. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be brave. And brave she was. Wuhan, the battle of youth and spirit. The Wuhan Open was different. The air was heavier, the competition sharper. Players came to test her resilience, not just her game. In the first round, she faced a veteran known for her defensive mastery. Coco dropped the first set. The crowd went silent. But between sets, she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and reset. Then came the comeback. A flurry of ground strokes, sharp angles, and untouchable serves. She clawed her way back to victory. By the quarterfinals, she was no longer the young wild card. She was a phenomenon. Fans lined up for autographs. Children waved signs that said, "Go Coco," in Mandarin. In the semifinals, she met a powerhouse from Eastern Europe. Taller, stronger, more experienced. The match stretched over 3 hours, a war of endurance. Every rally was a test of willpower. But Coco, despite her age, didn't crack. She played like a storm, unpredictable, fierce, and beautiful. When she hit the final winner down the line, the stadium shook with applause. Finalists, again, at 15. 2 back-to-back finals in Asia, Beijing and Wuhan, the youngest in history to achieve it. The world takes notice. The tennis world was in awe. Legends like Serena and Venus Williams congratulated her. Social media exploded with messages of pride. Even opponents praised her composure. One commentator said, "What Coco has done is not just remarkable, it's revolutionary. She's redefining what's possible for young athletes." In interviews, Coco's humility stood out. "I'm just grateful," she said, smiling. "This is just the beginning. I know there's still so much I need to learn." But behind that gentle smile was a fire, the kind that only burns in champions. The weight of a new generation. For millions of young athletes. Looking ahead, by the time the season ended, Coco was already a global icon. Her name stood beside legends. Sponsorships poured in, but she chose carefully, aligning only with brands that matched her values of integrity, discipline, and empowerment. Her coach said, "Coco's greatest strength isn't her serve or speed. It's her soul. She believes in something bigger than herself." And that's why her journey continues to inspire millions. Epilogue, the spark that ignited a generation. As Coco stood in the Wuhan arena one final time, trophy in hand, confetti swirling around her, she looked up at the lights. For a brief moment, she thought of the little girl from Delray Beach who used to dream of this day. She smiled. "This is for the dreamers," she whispered softly. "Never stop believing." The cameras flashed. The crowd roared. And somewhere in the hearts of millions watching, a new dream was born. Final reflection, a legacy in motion. At 15, Coco Gauff didn't just make history. She changed it. Her Beijing and Wuhan runs were more than victories. They were messages to the world. That youth can be fearless, that talent can come wrapped in humility, and that greatness has no age limit. Today, she continues to grow, not just as an athlete, but as a voice, a leader, and a symbol of what's possible when belief meets hard work. In every arena she steps into, the echoes remain. The cheers, the energy, the memory of that young girl who stood tall against the world and smiled. Coco Gauff, the 15-year-old who didn't wait for the future. She became it. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.